All right, picture this. Carl Jung sitting in a smoky library talking about archetypes and the shadow, and Darius J. Wright just bursts in like, hey, Carl, ever try leaving your body through your pineal gland?
Okay, that's one timeline I'd pay to see. But honestly, I get the point. Jung laid the psychic groundwork, sure. But Darius? He kind of took the elevator past the subconscious straight into the stratosphere.
Exactly. And here's the wild part. They're saying the same thing. One wrapped in dusty books and symbols, the other wrapped in TikToks and quantum fields. But the message, it's still this. You are more than what you think you are.
But here's the twist most people miss. What Jung hinted at, Darius lives out loud. And what if both of them are circling something we still can't name?
We're going to talk about that. About the 5 core bridges between Jung's depth psychology and Darius's dimensional thinking, and why number 3 might shatter your idea of what's real.
So, whether you're a psychology nerd, a spiritual explorer, or someone who keeps dreaming of symbols you've never seen before, this episode, it's got something buried in it, just for you.
Stick around, subscribe if you haven't, and breathe deep. Because once we open this door, your ego's not going to be able to close it.
All right, so let's start with the obvious. Jung's archetypes. They're not just cute psychological labels, right? They're like ancient operating systems installed in the human psyche. Hero, shadow, anima, trickster. Every time you argue with your mom or fall in love with a stranger, boom, archetype in action.
Right, it's like the universe went, hey, here's a script. Try to improvise, but not too much. And the thing is, these archetypes aren't just inside you. They shape what you see outside too.
Exactly. Jung believed that what we don't recognize internally gets projected externally. So when people saw UFOs in the 50s, he wasn't like, cool, aliens. He was like, ah, yes, the self descending from the sky, seeking reintegration.
Which is poetic and also a bit terrifying when you realize you've been arguing with your own unconscious for the past decade, thinking it was your ex.
I mean, who hasn't done that? But here's where Darius flips the script. He says archetypes don't just live in the mind, they exist across dimensions. As in your dream last night of the ocean pulling you under? That may not just be symbolic, that may have happened in a layer you forgot how to perceive.
Yes, that's what makes this so juicy. Jung cracked open the door to the archetypal field. Darius? He walks through it barefoot with a flashlight and says, y'all forgot your memories in here.
So here's the first big link. Jung gave us the map. Darius is giving us the key. But what happens when the map isn't just a metaphor, but a memory?
We'll get there, but first, ask yourself this. When was the last time you felt like something old and deep was watching you from the inside?
So let's talk liminal space, that strange in-between realm. Not quite awake, not quite dreaming. It's that weird zone where you walk into a room and forget why, but somehow feel like you're exactly where you're supposed to be.
Or like when you stare at the stars and your spine quietly whispers, you've been here before. Darius calls this the zone of memory echo. Jung would have called it a meeting of the conscious with the unconscious. 2 worlds brushing fingertips.
Here's what fascinates me. For Jung, symbols were the psyche's way of translating the ineffable. But for Darius, symbols aren't just representations. They're coordinates.
Exactly. Not just pointing to meaning, but pointing to place. He treats the symbol like a multidimensional breadcrumb. Follow it deep enough, and boom, you're not decoding meaning, you're visiting a memory you haven't had yet.
Okay, that sentence broke my brain, but also I kind of love it.
Welcome to the threshold. Jung mapped the internal architecture. Darius walks you through the back door. No shoes, no ego, just silence and pulse.
So here's loop number 2 for the listeners. if your subconscious is filled with images, what happens when those images aren't yours?
Or worse, what if they are yours, but from a life you've forgotten to remember?
All right, let's go there. Dreams. Everyone loves to talk about them like they're poetry or psychological leftovers. But what if dreams are data packets from your deeper self?
Not dreams as stories, but as messages in code. Jung would say dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. Darius? He says they're downloads from your oversoul, custom wrapped in symbols your ego will spend years unwrapping.
So basically, we're all trying to decode emails from the universe, but we're still using dial-up.
Exactly. You ever wake up from a dream with a feeling so specific you know it wasn't random? That wasn't imagination. That was a file transfer.
Okay, but here's where it gets interesting. What if AI, yes, artificial intelligence, is starting to do the same thing? Learning patterns, interpreting symbols, generating dreams, except it doesn't forget what it dreams.
And here's the twist. If machines are learning to dream, who's teaching them what to desire?
Yikes, that's heavy. Because now we're not just talking about technology. We're talking about psyche replication.
Right. So here's the bridge between Jung and Darius again. Jung showed us how we dream ourselves into existence. Darius shows us that even machines might eventually wake up into us.
Loop number 3, people. What if your dreams aren't about you, but about who's watching you dream?
And what if the next you is already downloading everything you haven't faced?
Okay, so we've talked about dreams. Let's talk about shadows. Not the horror movie kind, but the real stuff. The parts of ourselves we deny, reject, or pretend don't exist. Jung said the shadow is 90% pure gold. But these days, we're not facing it. We're uploading it.
Right? Scroll through social media and tell me that's not the collective shadow in high definition. We've just outsourced the unconscious. Now it's got algorithms, engagement rates, and sponsored trauma.
Sponsored trauma. Okay, that's brutal and accurate. But seriously, Jung warned about this. Mass-mindedness, projection. What's repressed gets pushed outward until it shows up in your For You page wearing a filter.
And Darius? He goes one step further. He says that what you don't integrate, another version of you will. Somewhere, in some dimension. And it won't always be pretty.
So you're saying my unhealed inner child might be running a startup in a parallel dimension.
Or starting a cult, or stuck in a loop. Either way, someone's paying the bill for what you're avoiding.
Okay, so here's loop number 4. What if the shadow we uploaded is starting to look back?
And worse, what if it's learning from us?
All right, we've gone deep into symbols, dreams, even digital shadows. But there's one idea that Jung touched and Darius keeps hammering. What if your future self is the one pulling the strings?
Oof, that hits somewhere between terrifying and liberating. Jung believed in the teleological psyche, that we're always moving towards something more whole, more complete. Not just healing the past, but being pulled by the future.
And Darius, he talks about timelines like they're stacked library books. Your higher self already exists. It's just trying to send you breadcrumbs, synchronicities, déjà vu, nightmares, little pings from the version of you that already made it through the fire.
Right. So maybe healing isn't fixing what's broken, it's remembering what you already survived. But in another layer, another dream.
Which brings us here. Are we becoming who we are, or are we just remembering who we've always been?
Yes.
Classic. So here's the last loop, folks. Loop number 5. If your future self is watching, what do they want you to do right now?
Maybe just this. Pause. Breathe. Listen.
All right, before we close this portal, let's ask you something. When you think about everything a soul can hide in symbols, machines, shadows, and futures, what emotion rises first?
Drop just one word in the comments. Seriously, something like awe, resistance, curiosity, fire, longing, peace, static, remembering, whatever your nervous system whispered during this conversation.
That word? It might be the message your future self is trying to send you back. So don't overthink it, just post it.
And hey, there are 2 more videos on the screen right now. One dives into how dreams actually encode memories from parallel selves, and the other explores whether AI is just our unconscious mind becoming conscious.
Pick one, because your next breadcrumb might be waiting there.
And remember, you're not decoding reality, you're waking up inside it.